Story 1. When I broke my back in half doing what I love most in life, I was told I only had a 30% chance to walk again. Luckily, I am here, breathing and walking a year and a half later. Learning to walk again was challenging. Life is precious. Be careful of the decisions you make. Story 2. My dad told me he wished my mom had aborted me and then told me to kill myself my whole life. He sabotaged everything I did to make me look bad and fail at life. So now I'm like, watch this. And I am 1/4 his age and 4 times as successful. Story 3. Realizing my parents were not invincible completely altered my perspective on life and how precious time truly is. Story 4. Losing a parent taught me that life can be short and unpredictable. Can change your entire life overnight. Everyone moves on quickly. In the end, you are alone and must fight and survive by yourself. Story 5. Losing a close friend taught me that nothing is guaranteed, and you cannot take people for granted. Story 6. My youngest was diagnosed with cancer at 3 months old. I have experienced neglect, emotional abuse, and losing a parent, but nothing compares to that. The year of chemotherapy, surgeries, and treatments will always be the hardest. Story 7. Watching my father pass away from cancer 24 years ago changed me in every way possible. It was the worst pain ever. Story 8. My dog died, my first dog after I got my own place. She was my best friend. I think I became a lot more reserved as a person, slower, and less enthusiastic. Story 9. In the past 3 years, I have helped my mother go through cancer treatments for 4 months. She is fine now, thankfully. Nearly witnessed my father pass away in front of me last December in the hospital from pneumonia. He is better now, but there are still many issues that need to be addressed. I was also his therapist as he was very depressed for a while. He would talk about how scared he was to sleep because he thought he would not wake up. Had a woman that I dated the longest in my life, 6 years, lie about hooking up with her coworker for months. She used my credit card for Uber and Uber Eats until this other guy offered his. She promised to meet me for a year and a half but backed out every time, refusing to come see me when my mother had cancer or when my father was not in a good place. She later said she did not see the point of finding a cat sitter, taking time off work, and coming to see me. We used to live together, but I had to move back with my parents after I lost my job, ran out of money, and could not find a new job in time, among other issues. I do not expect anything from anyone anymore. I feel like everything is on me. All I want now is to show my parents that I am in a good place, that I will be okay on my own again. I still have goals and dreams to fulfill. Story 10. Losing my husband in a car accident was devastating. The state police came to my house to inform me that my husband had died. He did not even say goodbye. I watched both my parents die of cancer. I had always wondered which would be worse. Sudden death, nothing compares. Story 11. The best thing that ever happened to my life was hitting rock bottom. I was finally teachable and have tried to remain that way every day since. Story 12. Something simple would be losing relationships or loving the wrong people. I don't like building deep relationships with the wrong people, people who I know I cannot love forever, or people I know will not change. Every time it feels well and fine, I remember in the end all I have is myself and the need to be aware. All in all, it has changed me and made me reserved. I am wary of wanting friends out of fear of betrayal or having that friendship end because of distance or death, and wary of wanting a relationship out of fear I will just get hurt again. I don't want to get close to someone if in the end I know everything that has a beginning has an ending, and one day they will just leave in some way. I would much rather be observant of people and be silent and alone with myself. Something complex would be the day I found out I only exist because my dad, whom I have not seen since I was 9 and I am now 22, decided to trap my mom. How it changed me. I always felt as if I am the reason my mom never left and followed her dreams, the reason for her pain, and for having to work multiple jobs. Story 13. I had the unhappy experience of being betrayed by a person I loved very much. I believed we had a future, and that vanished overnight. Most unfortunately, my body had a trauma response to this. I woke up daily in a kind of Groundhog Day, unable to heal or move forward. Each day felt like day one. Spiraling thoughts and obsessive thinking prevented healing because my brain was like a record skipping. I lost a lot of life to this event. Eventually, movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy saved me. I recommend it to everyone. It was a miracle. That said, I believe this experience contributed to an autoimmune diagnosis about a year later. Story 14. Being betrayed by people you thought were your friends. One individual needed $500 to pay his rent. I later saw he used that money to fund a party he threw and did not even invite me. Now, I trust no one. Story 15. Getting cheated on during a 6-year relationship hurt deeply. She slept with someone else in our bed a few days before I was going to propose, then told me she never loved me at all during the relationship. To make me suffer, she sent a wedding invitation last year with an automatic RSVP marked no, including a picture of her and her fiancé. She uploaded nude photos to the internet and then called the police, accusing me of uploading them, even though I was out of the country without internet access when they were posted. She called the police twice, claiming I was going to harm myself, which was not true. She also said that I killed her cat, even though I had moved to a different state 600 miles away months earlier and loved the cat more than she did. She simply did not give him his medication. I went on a few dates a few months later but have not been on a date or in a relationship in the past 10 years. I refused to date any women from the state she was from or where she lives now, and I refused to date any women named Abby. The betrayal messed me up badly and made it hard to trust any other woman in a relationship since. Before everything happened, we were the perfect couple. Everyone said they wished they could have a relationship like ours. We even took personality tests and scored a 100% match on all of them. Her mother screamed at her for hours when she heard we broke up, then got mad at me after hearing all the lies her daughter told. Story 16. When the first person I was truly in love with left me for an old fling, it happened 15 years ago, and I still have trouble opening up and expressing emotions. Also, after I got food poisoning, I developed a nervous and queasy stomach. I used to be very strong, but since that bad piece of meat, I vomit when I get too nervous. Story 17. The hurt of experiencing human cruelty for the first time changed me. I went from an open extrovert to a closed-off introvert. I will never be the first to talk or approach someone to get to know them. I am okay being alone. Story 18. Being singled out and joked about in the early stages of school, I was still able to make friends and enjoy what I could. Internally, however, I became extremely apathetic because instead of my guardians trying to handle the kids who were bullying me, I was just told to act like it doesn't bother you and stop crying. You are a boy, you have to be strong. Honestly, this was one of the worst pieces of advice I have ever received. Story 19. I was really invested in a relationship and was planning to marry him when I found out he was cheating on me. From that day, I have become cold toward every man who tries to come into my life. I don't feel excited about being with someone. I used to be a super affectionate and loving partner. Story 20. I was bullied in high school because my elder sister's private photos were leaked somehow. I lived with extreme agony for a couple of years until I stopped caring. It changed me for the better. I stopped caring about people's opinions. Later, I confirmed that my sister herself leaked the videos during her teenage years. Story 21. My dad walked out on us when I was still young. I grew to be quite independent, but at the same time, it is difficult to trust anyone completely. Story 22. Watching my best friend pass away was difficult. At first, the change was not good. But over time I have learned to appreciate life because it is fragile and shorter than we perceive. Story 23. Losing my mother and having a severe addiction to painkillers changed me to be more understanding and mature, but in the long run, it also damaged me. Story 24. Losing my grandmother changed me the most. It made me realize how precious time is and pushed me to cherish my loved ones more. It is amazing how pain can lead to a positive shift in perspective. Story 25. Infertility. Traumatic birth, almost dying. Being lied to and cheated on. Brother having a serious drug addiction. Friends nowhere to be found during these experiences. Story 26. Being betrayed by my partner hurt deeply. He was unfaithful and wanted to leave me for his mistress. The betrayal cut so deeply. Story 27. Losing our first son 31 days after birth. Holding him while he took his last breath. He was a micro-preemie born at 24 weeks. I still have extremely realistic flashbacks of that moment holding his little body. Story 28. Trying to help someone who is the embodiment of toxicity, who will bring you down no matter what you do, and make you feel like everything is your fault. Story 29. Having my then-girlfriend abort our would-be child just under the 3-month mark. I am very much waiting to die and trying to do as much good as I can until I get to meet her. Story 30. Lost my dad to suicide about 8 years ago when I was 21. We were really close, and it was totally unexpected. It has only been in the last year or two that I have started untangling all the ways it has affected me that I had not really noticed. I have not been really feeling my emotions in a long time. I have a lot of anxiety around death and losing other people I care about. I do not really listen to music anymore since that was something we bonded over. I am in therapy now, and it is slow and painful, but it is helping. Story 31. Honestly, it was my 15-year-old dog passing. He died in the most unexpected way I could imagine, and I have cried every day for 2 months now. It feels like the pain will never stop. I have never felt this kind of pain from anyone in my life passing, but this tiny little furball completely shattered my heart forever. Story 32. Physical pain from my neck. For 20 years, I was dependent on opioids, not to get high but to keep working and keep moving. Those pills and my new aversion to pain, which I was never afraid of before, changed me completely and made me an unpleasant human being. Story 33. Discovering the body of a relatively young family member due to sudden health complications taught me a valuable lesson. Even though I knew life is not forever, it was not until then that it really sank in. It taught me to make the most of the time with those close to you and not let the little problems get in the way. You never know when saying "see you later" will be the last interaction you have with them. Story 34. No matter how much you achieve, it is never enough. Instead, it torments you by placing you at the center of high expectations, only for you to fail once and become someone whose previous achievements hold no value. Story 35. My mother died suddenly when I was 10. Experiencing something like that at a young age changes everything. It made me a better person. More mature, empathetic, tough, and understanding. However, the pain remains in my heart and always will, no matter what happens. Story 36. Seeing the death of someone's loved ones daily in the hospital is very difficult. There was a case of a male patient approximately 50 years old in the emergency room, and unfortunately, he did not survive. I could not bear to see his daughters crying relentlessly. What was the fault of those 2 girls? This is just one case. There are many more where we could not hold back our tears. Story 37. Realizing I lost my first friend. I was 4 when we moved, and I never saw her again. Years later, I finally understood what happened. I grieved for weeks and tried everything to get in contact with her again. She was my first friend officially lost to me. Story 38. The grief of losing my sister well before her time made me truly understand how fleeting life can be, how much painful loss lies ahead, and how you never know when the last time you hug a loved one will be. It instilled a lot of fear in me and also made me appreciate the people in my life more. The fear, anguish, and preemptive grief for other loved ones is hard. I am acutely aware of what death does to the living and had to learn that relatively young and carry it with me always. Story 39. Grief and mental pain changed me in every possible way. I was not the same person after losing my dad terribly and unexpectedly. I had just graduated from college and was preparing to work as a counselor, but I could not do so at that time. My life and career look nothing like I would have expected before losing him. It is neither a good nor bad thing, just different. Story 40. Here's a positive story. I ended up having my baby on my bathroom floor, obviously unmedicated and unprepared. It was super scary. It was extremely painful, and I told my mom that I wanted to die, but at the same time, my mind was like, you have to do this. There is no other option. When the ambulance showed up, They could not just stop it. So I did it. And wow, I felt powerful afterward. I feel like I should believe in myself much more. Also, the human body is incredible. The whole evolutionary concept that women forget the pain of childbirth in order to want to have more children is definitely true, as I would have another one. Story 41. The pain of having to end it with someone I love very dearly. Understanding that hurting the one you love only increases pain, and sometimes it is best to separate so you both can heal. Story 42. Telling my father to stop hitting my mother. I jumped in front of her, and it made me realize that my parents are not the best thing in the world. They are not the heroes of my life. They are just people. Story 43. Experiencing rejection not from one person but from a whole community of almost 80 people, and it lasted 4 years. It wounds the soul so deeply. I cannot describe the pain. Story 44. Rejection of friendship. Being told, I have enough friends, by someone I cared about changed my perspective on how I viewed my friends and whether people were truly my friends or just what I considered friends. It turns out my loyalty and care for others were never reciprocated or viewed the same way by those I considered friends. This allowed me to recalibrate my need for other relationships and who I allowed to be around me. I realized that much of the pain in my life is caused by the relationships I have in general. I was spending so much time, energy, and emotion on people who did not notice and only viewed their friendship as a one-way transactional process. Story 45. Taking responsibility for my own failures and shortcomings. Realizing I had fallen behind my peers despite being given many advantages in life because I was spoiled and lazy. Story 46. When I started my menstrual period at age 10, it was normal. Apparently, girls can start as young as 9, so I had at least 1 year of peace before it began without even knowing. I have anxiety. I don't know when it began, but I remember my first instance around 3rd grade. After puberty, it increased significantly and took years of therapy and medication to improve slightly. It is still difficult years later, now at age 26, but those first years each month were very scary. Being a female can be challenging sometimes. Story 47. Do not catch your heel edge on ice at full speed. I learned not to do it twice on the same day. It was brutal. I had black, blue, and green bruises from my lower back to my kneecap. I swore to God I broke a hip. That changed my attitude about bombing down a hill while I was already injured. Story 48. Post-traumatic stress disorder and an abusive relationship. I had to seek help, and I am slowly but surely rebuilding myself. Things are falling into place again. It has definitely changed me, but for the better. Story 49. Waking up from a 9-hour surgery that took away my ability to have children, eat most foods, regulate hormones, have sex, walk most days, and use the restroom normally. But it taught me I am resilient and deserving of the life I want. Story 50. I feel that my mother's death made my heart harder. Now, I look at life from a different perspective. I believe that only those who suffer can understand how others feel. Story 51. My friend and I made a bet to see who could hold their bowel movement the longest. I held mine for 1 week and 5 days. When I finally had a bowel movement, it was very large and hard, like a missile in a way. It was so hard that it slightly tore my skin. Now, every time I have a bowel movement, it burns a little. It is not terrible, but it will never fully heal because the tissue in the area is very sensitive. Do not play with your health. Silly games can have serious consequences. Stick to normal games. Story 52. There are different kinds of pain that have changed me in different ways. The death of my father and younger brother was the deepest grief I have ever felt. They are just gone. It gave me an entirely new perspective on life. Life is short and could be gone today in an instant. Knowing what it means to have truly loved. Heartbreak is a true understanding of what it means to give someone all of you and still not be enough. The aching, the longing, the hope, the pain. Depression is the greatest mental pain I have ever experienced. It developed an appreciation and deep empathy for others fighting that battle within. I now know how it feels to be in hell. Betrayal by friends taught me not to trust anyone. Now I understand that no one truly cares about you. You can only count on yourself. Chronic pain developed a whole lot more empathy for those silent and not so silent sufferers. Sometimes you cannot see it, but the mental pain that comes with chronic pain is terrible. Story 53. Being homeless, so close to family, but when they saw they could not help me, they just waited. I was homeless many times. Taught me resilience. Story 54. Losing my daughter in 2020 has left me a shell of who I used to be. I was in sales for most of my life, but now I hate being around people. My favorite thing in the world was reading, as I am a speed reader. I cannot read anymore because it gives me time to think. Story 55. Waking up one day, I discovered that everything I had accomplished was meaningless due to a physical injury caused by neglect. A lot has changed since that day. I do not remember who that person was anymore. I am just coasting now, seeing where I end up. Story 56. No one talks about labor pain, that sharp, agonizing pain one feels. The beauty comes with a beautiful or handsome angel in your arms. This transition is scary yet priceless. Story 57. Chronic emptiness is worse than anything. It makes you pray for pain so at least you can feel something. Story 58. Chronic emptiness is worse than anything. It makes you pray for pain so at least you can feel something. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.